So that means the code is already available. So in the form of packages, the package contains classes, interfaces and exception. So in all the classes, interfaces and exceptions, so we have the obviously variables and methods. Variables and methods. So now what I would like to do is I have a class, I have a class. So within this class, I can write anything. I can declare a variable. Suppose int I is equal to 10. So already we know that this is the variable declaration. This is the variable declaration. So with the help of data types, we declare the variables. So all the data types are categorized into two types. So primitive type and non-primitive type. If it is a primitive type, we use values. If it is a non-primitive type, we use object. We'll discuss. Right. Simply, simply after storing the data, after storing the data, so actually we have the operators like so this is called as assignment operator. This is called as assignment operator. This operator is used to assign some value to the variable. The 10 value is assigned to the variable called as I. So after that, so we have a couple of operators we need to discuss. Okay, simple. The first one is assignment operator. The first one is assignment operator. Next one is arithmetic operator. Arithmetic operator. Next, relational operator. Relational operator and logical operators. Logical operators. So already we know that assignment operator is nothing but equals. So by using this, we can assign some value to the variable. And arithmetic operator like addition, subtraction, multiplication, and percentile, etc. And the relational operators. And the relational operators. The relational operators are nothing but less than, greater than, comma less than or equals, comma greater than equals, comma equals, comma not equals. So these are relational operators. These are relational operator. So logical operators, that is and, or, and not, and or not. So these are logical operators. We need to discuss. If I want to use arithmetic operators, these operator must and should be used in between two operands. In between two operands. The operands may be a values. The operands may be a values. The operand may be a values or variables. Or variables. Suppose let us assume I would like to add some data. So simply int sum is equal to 10 plus 20. So 10 plus 20 or 30. So here, so plus is called as addition operator and 30 and 10 are called as operands. Okay. Next, in the next example, int sum is equal to a plus b. So a and plus b are the operands and plus is the addition operator. If I want to use arithmetic operators in between two operands, we can use it. Next, if I want to use the relational operators, so directly we cannot use in between the variables or in between the values. We have to use these relational operators with the help of control statement and conditional statement. Control statements and conditional statement. Control and conditional statement. So based on these statements only, with the help of the control statement and conditional statement only, we can use this relational operators. Then what are the conditional and what are the control statement? The control and conditional statements are nothing but Like we have the for loop, we have the while loop, we have the do and while, and we have the switch. We have the switch, and after that we have the if condition, and we have the if and else condition. So these are the mostly common used controller conditional statement. With the help of these statements only, with the help of these statements only, we can use the relational operators. We can use the relational operator. So simple. So if I want to use the if condition, so how we can write? So first we'll write the if statement. So within the if statement, we use the condition. We use the condition as part of the condition. So we'll open the if condition. We'll open the if condition. Suppose a statement. Let us assume statement 2, and we'll continue with before statement, before condition statement 1, and after condition so statement 3, after condition statement 3. So now observe, if the condition is true, if the condition is true, then only it will execute the statement 2. If the condition is true, then only it will execute statement 2. If the condition is false, it will skip the statement 2. So remaining statements are common. 1 and 3 are common irrespective of the condition true or false. So if the condition is true, if and only if the condition is true, then only the statement 2 will get execute. The statement 2 will get execute. Okay. So if you see the example, if you see the example, so if condition, or before that I need to create one variable. So 10. So I'll write if condition here. If I equals, what is equals is relational operator. This relational operator is applied with the help of if condition. If I equals to 10, the condition is true or false? If the condition is true, then only it will execute the statement. Simply I'll write sys out. So I value is equal to, I value is equal to 10. Okay, I value equal to 10. Suppose before if condition sys out, before if condition sys out, so welcome message, some welcome message, and after if condition also I'll write sys out something called as by. So welcome and by is the common statement, and if the condition is true, then only the I value is equals to 10 will be execute. When I click on this button, so obviously I is equal to 0. So that is the reason why. So welcome message got executed as well as I equals to 10, and finally by message. Suppose let us assume I equals to 11. So I value is 11. I am comparing I value with 10. So I value is 11. I am comparing it with 10. So both are same or not same? So not same means condition is false. If the condition is false, it will skip only this statement. It will skip only this statement. So remaining statements are got executed successfully. So welcome and bye. Suppose let us assume, so it may contain any number of states. It may contain any number of statement, like one, like first statement, second statement, third statement, like that. You can write any number of statement within the a single condition. You can write any number of statement within the single condition. So all the statements are skipped. All the statements within the block. So we call it as a block. So all the statements are from this block will be eliminated if the condition is false. If the condition is true, if the condition is true, So it will execute all the statement from the block. So welcome message, I value equal to 10, 1, 2, 3, and finally by. So this is how if condition will work. This is how if condition will work. So based on the relational operator, the condition is going to be false or true. So in the same way, I can also use this condition less than or equals to 10. Less than or equals to 10. Again, condition is true or false. What is I value? I value is 10. And condition is what? 10 less than or equals to 10. The condition is obviously true. If the condition is true, what are the statements we can get? So welcome message, I value is equals to 10 and 1, 2 and finally 3. So simple. So this is how. Suppose let us assume I value is 5. 5 less than or equals to 10. 5 less than or equals to 10. Condition is true or false? True or false? True or false? 5 less than or equals to 10. The condition is true. Okay. So observe here, I value is 5. 5 less than or equals to 10. 5 obviously less than or equals to 10. So that is the reason why condition is true. If the condition is true, so definitely it will execute all the statement. Suppose let us assume I value is 54. I value is 54. Condition is true or false? False. So means what are the statements we get? Welcome and bye. So this is how if condition will work. Okay. So what about if else? What about if else? Okay. Suppose let us assume I would like to print whether equal to something or I need two variables. I need two variables. Int j is equal to some 45. Okay. If the I less than or equals to j, I less than or equals to j. What is the I value? 54. What is the j value? 45. So 45 less than or equals to, sorry, 54 less than or equals to 45. True or false? If the false means which one is the bigger value? False means which one is the bigger value? So else condition. So within the else condition, so system dot out. If it is 54 less than or equals to 45, the condition is false. That is the reason why j value is the smaller and I value is the bigger. Yes or no? So simply I'll write the bigger value is I. Bigger value is I. If the condition is true, if the condition is true, the bigger value is J. Bigger value is J. The bigger value is J. So finally, what is the problem? I would like to print the bigger value. I would like to print the bigger value. So based on the condition, So if else statement, if and else statement. So remaining statements are common. Welcome and by statements are common to program. Only this statement is belongs to if condition and this statement is belongs to else condition. So if the condition is true, it will execute this statement only. If the condition is false, it will execute only this statement. Either if or else. Either if or else. If the condition is true, it will execute if condition only. It will not execute else. If the condition is false, it will execute only else part. It will not execute any if condition. Okay. So 54 less than or equals to 45. That is the reason why. So condition is fail. If the condition is fail, it will not execute any if statement. Directly it will go to else part. So when I click on the button, so welcome message, the bigger value is 54 and finally by message. Finally, by message. Suppose let us assume. So now I value is 45 and j value is 54. So it will execute. So now it will execute. So j value, it will execute j value that is 54. Suppose if it is same like 55, 55. So now I is the bigger value and the value is 55. So this is a if and else, either if condition or else condition, either if condition or else condition. So when it is comes to if and else, suppose let us assume, suppose let us assume, I would like to perform iterate. I would like to iterate the values. I would like to iterate the values. So iterating means from continuously we need to rotate the things, rotate the things. For those we use for while and do while. For those we use while, do while and for loop. So simple, simple. When you check the for loop syntax for, so first initialization. First is what? Initialization, and the second part, is condition. Second part is condition, and third part is increment or decrement. Increment or decrement. Open the for loop and close the for loop. So you can write any number of statements. You can write any number of statements here. So this is the syntax. This is the syntax of the for loop. You may get the question. So write the syntax of the for loop and give an example. So you have to write the syntax. So for loop and initialization, condition, increment or decrement operator. The initialization, already we know that with the help of data type and variable, we initialize the value. And after that, the condition must be satisfy. Then only the for loop will get execute, and the increment or decrement. So let us assume I would like to print, I would like to print. So 1 to 10 members, 1 to 10 numbers. So system dot out dot println 2, system dot out dot println 3, system dot out dot println 4, and system dot out dot println 5, and system dot out dot println 6, and system dot out dot println 7, and println system 8, and 9, and finally 10. So this is a will print the value from 1 to 10 actually, from 1 to 10. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 10. 1, 2, 6, 7, and 4, 5, 10 here. So instead of this, so we can use the per loop. Instead of this, we can use the per loop. So what is the per loop? The per loop is used to iterate the values. Per loop is used to iterate the values. So what is the per loop syntax? First, we have to initialize. First, we have to initialize. How to initialize? So simple per initialization, from where to where the output should be, like 1 to 10. The output should be like 1 to 10. Int I is equal to 1. Int I is equal to 1. So this is what initialization. This is what initialization. So first part is completed. Second part, to where, you want to print. Suppose I would like to print 1 to 10. So what is the last value? 10. So I less than or equals to 10. So this is the condition. The condition must be in relational operator. And third part. What is the third part? Increment or decrement. Increment or decrement. From 1 to 10, it should be increment or it should be decrement. So increment means I plus plus. Increment means I plus plus. So open the for loop and close the for loop. So within this, I can write this statement system dot out dot println of I. So system dot out dot println of I. So it will print 1 to 10. So simple, the same output. So when I click on the button, so it will print 1 to 10. Suppose let us assume I would like to print 105 to 115. So initialization constant should be 105 and up to where 115. 115. It should be increment or decrement. Increment means I plus plus only or not. So now it will execute. So 105 to 115. Suppose let us assume I would like to decrease 115 to 105 or 110 to 100. So what is the initialization? What is the initialization? What is the output? 110 to 100. What is the first one? 110. So it not should be greater than or equals to greater than or equals to 100. It should be minus or plus. Minus. Now simply, so while print, so 110, 109, 108 to 100. Finally, 100. So this is what increment and decrement. So take this syntax and take this program. So take this. So right. So per loop contains three part majorly: initialization, condition, and increment or decrement. Okay. Next, the same example. The same example I would like to do in while loop. The same example I would like to do in while loop. So what is the while loop? So while loop is also for iterating the values. Iterating the values. So while, so this is the syntax. We have to specify the condition and open the while loop and close the while loop. Open the while loop and close the while loop. You can write any number of statements. You can write any number of statements. Boys. Okay. So while syntax is while condition. So we have to specify the condition. If the condition is true, then only the condition statements will be executed. The condition statement will be executed. The same statement, I would like to print some, let us assume 110, 1 or 100 to 110, 100 to 110, and later I would like to print 110 to 100, 110 to 100. The same program but using while loop. Same program but using while loop. So what is the first program? 100 to 110. What is the starting value? 100. What is the starting value? 100. Int I is equal to 100. Up to where it should print? 110. So within the while condition, so I less than or equals to 100, less than or equals to, sure, 110 or 100? Uh, 110. So I less than or equals to 110. So open the while condition and close the while condition. But every time I value should be increment or decrement. So first you have to print the I value. First you have to print the I value, and after that you have to print the increment the I value. So then it will print. Then it will print. So 100 to 110. 100 to 110. Simple. Next, I value should be 110. I greater than or equals to 100. I plus plus or I minus minus? I minus minus. Okay. So this is decrement 110 to 100. Okay. So take this syntax and take this program. All right. So for loop is completed and while loop is completed. So next, do while. So do statements, and after that while condition. So semicolon is mandatory for the while, do while, not only while. So for do while, the semicolon is mandatory. So this is the syntax. So this is the syntax. Okay. So first we'll write do. First we'll write do. Within the do, we'll write the statements. Within the do, we'll write the statement. And after that, we'll use the while condition. So what is the difference between while and do while is? In the while condition, directly we'll go with the condition and directly we have the statement. But whereas, as part of the do while, we have first to do loop. We have the do block. It will execute do block, then only it will check the condition. But as part of the while, it will check the condition first and execute the statement. So as part of the while loop, first it will check the condition. If the condition is true, then only it will enter into the while. But as part of the do while, first it will execute the statement, then only it will check the condition. If the condition is true, then it will continue do. Otherwise, it will not continue. But at least, సో ఇక్కడ అబ్జర్వ్ చేయండి. సో ఎగ్జాక్ట్గా డిఫరెన్స్ ఏం చెప్పొచ్చు అంటే, సో వైల్కి డూ వైల్కి డిఫరెన్స్ ఏంటి అంటే, సో వితౌట్ కండిషన్ ఈస్ నాట్ పాసిబుల్ టు ఎగ్జిక్యూట్ ఎనీ సింగిల్ స్టేట్మెంట్ ఫ్రమ్ ది వైల్లో. ఒక స్టేట్మెంట్ కూడా ఎగ్జిక్యూట్ అవ్వదు. బట్ డూ వైల్లో ఛాన్సెస్ ఏమున్నాయి? ఈవెన్ కండిషన్ ఇస్ ఫెయిల్ అయినా కూడా ఒకసారి అయినా డూ అనేది ఎగ్జిక్యూట్ అవుతుంది. సో ఎందుకు అంటే, సో ఫస్ట్ ఇట్ విల్ ఎగ్జిక్యూట్ డూ, దెన్ ఓన్లీ ఇట్ విల్ చెక్ ది కండిషన్. సో డూ అట్లీస్ట్ ఒకసారన్నా ఎగ్జిక్యూట్ అవుతుంది. సో ఈవెన్ కండిషన్ ఈస్ ఫాల్స్. బట్ వైల్ లూప్లో కండిషన్ ఫాల్స్ అయితే ఎగ్జిక్యూట్ అవ్వదు, కండిషన్ ట్రూ అయితేనే ఎగ్జిక్యూట్ అవుతుంది. సో ఇక్కడ మనకి సేమ్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ తీసుకుంటే, సో కండిషన్ ఎలా రాస్తాము? ఈ స్టేట్మెంట్స్ అన్నీ కూడా డూలో పెడతాం. ఈ స్టేట్మెంట్స్ అన్నీ కూడా ఏం చేస్తాం? డూలో చేస్తాం. డూ అండ్ లాస్ట్లో ఏం రాస్తాము? వైల్ కండిషన్ రాస్తాం. లాస్ట్లో ఏం రాస్తాము? వైల్ కండిషన్ యు మస్ట్ రైట్ విత్ ది సెమీకోలన్. సో కండిషన్ ఏంటి ఇక్కడ? I greater than or equals to 100. I greater than or equals to 100. సో ఇక్కడ మీరు ఎగ్జిక్యూట్ చేస్తే సో ఏమవుతున్నాయి? 110 to 100 వస్తున్నాయి. సపోజ్ లెటస్ అస్యూమ్ ఇక్కడ కండిషన్ అనేది 99 అనుకుందాం. ఐ వాల్యూ అనేది ఏంటి? 99. సో 99 గ్రేటర్ దాన్ ఆర్ ఈక్వల్స్ టు 100. కండిషన్ ఈస్ ట్రూ ఆర్ ఫాల్స్? Condition is false. Even though condition is false, it will execute one statement, that is 99, and after that the condition will be checked. The condition is false, so it will stop executing the do. So first it will execute at least one statement if the condition is fail. If the condition is true, it will execute all the statement. It will execute all the statement until unless condition is failed. సో ఇప్పుడు అబ్జర్వ్ చెప్పండి. సో వైల్కి డూ వైల్కి ఏం డిఫరెన్స్ అబ్జర్వ్ చేశారు మీరు? సో వైల్ అంటే మ్యాండేటరీ కండిషన్ మస్ట్ అండ్ షుడ్ బి ట్రూ. సో దెన్ ఓన్లీ ఇట్ విల్ కంటిన్యూ ది వైల్ లూప్. If the condition is fails, it will not execute any statement from the while loop. But if it is a do while, so irrespective of the condition, first it will execute do part, then only it will check the condition. So that is the main difference in between while and do while. So take this program. All right. So observe here the same program within the do. I'll check the condition like this. If I equals to 105, if I equals to 105, then only print I value, then only print I value and I minus minus. What is the output? What is the output? Only continuous loop. What is the output, final output? I 110 to 105. Okay. I minus minus. First 110. It will print 110. 110 to 100. Check the condition. 110. I is what? 110. And if condition 110 equals to 105. Condition is true or false? False means it will not enter into this block. Directly I value will be minus 110 to 109. 109 equals to 105. True or false? False means it will not print the I value directly minus minus. 108 not possible. 107 not possible. 106 not possible. 105 possible. Then only it will print I value. So what is the output? What is the output? Only 105. Only 105. Why? Because we have written this statement or not. Suppose let us assume after this only I would like to print. After this only I would like to print I value. Then what is the output? First it will print 105. What is the value? Or better, I think else what? Sys out I. Or ఇంకా కన్ఫ్యూజ్ ఉంది అంటే సింపుల్. ఓకే. ఇప్పుడు అవుట్పుట్ చెప్పండి. సేమ్ ప్రోగ్రామ్ రైట్. అవుట్పుట్ ఏమొస్తుంది? 110 టు 100. 110 టు 100. ఓకే రైట్. ఒకవేళ మనం కండిషన్ రాస్తే దాంట్లో బ్రేక్ స్టేట్మెంట్ యూజ్ చేస్తే ఏమవుతుంది? కండిషన్ ఎప్పుడు ట్రూ అవుతుంది? when the I value is 105. 105 తర్వాత ఏం రాసాం మనము? సో 10 తర్వాత ఏమైపోయింది? బ్రేక్. 10 తర్వాత ఎగ్జిక్యూషన్ అనేది స్టాప్ అయిపోయింది. ఎగ్జిక్యూషన్ అనేది స్టాప్ అయిపోయింది. సపోజ్ లెట్ us assume there is another statement called as continue. సో ఇప్పుడు ఏమవుతుంది? సో బ్రేక్ అంటే ఏమైంది? టోటల్గా ప్రోగ్రామ్ అనేది టర్మినేట్ అయిపోయింది. ఓకే. సో టేక్ దిస్ వన్. Right. So observe here. So this is the best example for break and continue. So it is not possible in while and do while. It is possible in for loop. Okay. So if it is a break, I am iterating the values from 100 to 110. So if it is a break after 105, so it will break the statement. Okay, so when it encounters 105, it will break entire the program. So means suppose if it is continue, suppose it will continue, so it will not terminate the program in middle of the execution. So it will execute all the statement except 105, except 105. So when it is continuous statement, it will skip only the a particular element or particular condition. When it is a break, when the condition is satisfied, it will break all the program. Okay, so take this one, continuous statement. The only highlighted one is enough. Right. So completed. So observe here. So types of operators, assignment operators, arithmetic operators, relational operators, and we need to discuss logical operators, logical and logical or. Suppose we need to use this and or operators. And after that, conditional and control statement for while, do while, we need to discuss about switch. We need to discuss about switch. If else is completed, so if and only if the condition is true, then only if statement will be executed. So for contains three part: initialization, condition, increment or decrement. And while we'll have the condition, when the condition is true, then only it will execute all the statement. But whereas the do while, what is the difference between while and do while? So if the condition is fail in the while loop, it will not execute any statement. If the condition is false, even though condition is false in the do while, it will execute at least once, at least once. So remaining steps based on the condition. And coming to the break and continue statement, break will stop execute the program and continue will skip the a particular iteration, a particular iteration. So now the switch case is nothing but like simple. So string data or integer, you can take integer equals to 0, integer equals to 0. So switch, so switch I. So we have the cases here. We have the cases here. So case 0, case 0, and each case contains break statement. Each case contains break statement. Okay. So simple system dot out dot println. So 0 and case 1, case 1 and system dot out dot println of 1 again break and case 2 and system dot out dot println of 2 break statement. Case 3 and system dot out dot println is 3. Okay. So how the switches work is, and finally we'll have the default. Finally, we'll have the default. So default system dot out dot println something. So none of this. None of the above. Okay. What is the I value? 0. If it is 0, it will execute 0 cases. If it is execute 0 case. Case 0. Suppose let us assume if it is 1, it will execute case 1. So 1 will be printed. Suppose if it is 4, fourth case is available or not. So if it is not available, it will execute default case. It will execute default case. So none of the above. Okay. So simple. Simple. If it is integer, you have to use the cases in the form of integer. Suppose let us assume if it is like this. If it is like string, if it is like string, so data is equal to something. The data is equal to something. The cases should be also in string. The cases also should be in string. Suppose let us assume A, the case must be in A, B, C, and it should be in string C. Sorry, so C is already available. Let us continue with D. What is the data here? String A. What is the output? 0. What is the output? 0. If it is C, what is the output? Output is 2. Suppose if it is E, there is no E, directly it will execute default. So none of the above. So the meaning is based on the data, you have to choose the cases. You have to choose the cases. If it is a string, you have to choose the string cases. If it is the integer, you have to choose the integer cases. Suppose let us assume I'll supply like this. Int data equals to 0. The cases are wrong because the data in the form of integer, the case size must and should be in integer, not string. Okay. So based on the data, you have to choose the cases. So take this example. right? Completed. Okay, done. Mostly we covered the fundamental if condition, else condition, for loop, while loop, do while, break, continue, like switch case also completed. Right. So now what I am going to do is I would like to define some variables and data. Okay. Select all and delete. Simple. So already told you that Java is a collection of predefined codes. Those codes are available inside the packages. So packages contains what? Classes, interfaces, interfaces and exceptions. Interfaces and exception. So already we know that Java is a collection of predefined codes. The codes are available inside the packages. The packages contains classes, interfaces and exception. So all these classes, exceptions and interfaces, all these classes, exception and interfaces contains only two things. One is first, one is variable and the second one is only methods. Okay. So Java is collection of predefined code. Those are available inside the packages. Packages contains classes, interfaces and exception. So interface, exception and classes lo common ga undeti enti only two things, variables and methods. Variables and methods. So already we know that how to write a variable. The variable must and should start with small letter and the method name also must and should start with small letter. Then what is the difference between variable and method? The method contains parenthesis. Method contains parenthesis, whereas variable do not have any parenthesis. Okay, right. I would like to define a method. I would like to define the method. I would like to define the method. So what is a method? So method is nothing but block of statement or group of statement. Method is nothing but block of statements and or group of statements. Method is nothing but block of statement and group of statement. We call it as a method. So method name can be anything. Method name can be anything. So how to write a method? The method write like this: public return type, public return type, and followed by method name, and followed by method name and parentheses within this argument list. Argument list. Open the method and close the method. Open the method and close the method. So within this you can write any number of statement. You can write any number of statement. So statement 1, statement 2, something, okay, statement n. So you can write any number of statement. Okay, so this is the so declaration of the syntax of the method. Declaration or syntax of the method. Okay, so method return type name, method return type method name argument list. Okay, so for this example is public void is the return type and method name can be anything. So I'll continue with display. I'll continue with display method. So this is called as method. This is called as method. So system dot out dot println, system dot out dot println something message, some hello. Okay, so this is the example of the method. This is the example of the method. Okay, So public is common. The return type is nothing but void. The method name is nothing but display. The argument list is 0. The argument list is 0. Okay. So this is the return type, and that is the display is the method name, and arguments are 0. Arguments are 0. So this is the syntax. This is the method syntax. This is the method syntax, and this is the example, and this is the example. So already we know that we can declare the variables in the program as well as methods. So this is the example of the method. So what we need to do is, all the methods and variable must and should write inside the classes. Must and should write inside the classes. Those classes are available inside the package. Simple. So this is the package. The package contain class. Within the class, we can return the any number of methods and variable. Simple. Int I is equal to 0. Int I is equal to 0. So this is called as instance variable. This is called as instance variable, and this is called as local variable. This is called as local variable. Also we can call it as global variable. Also we can call it as global variable. So then what is the difference between local and global? Local and global, the local variable which is declared within the method. So what is the method? Void is the return type, main is the method name, and this is nothing but argument list. This is nothing but argument list. The variable which are defined within the method. The variable which are defined within the method. So those variables are local variables. Those variables are local variable. The variable which are declared outside the method inside the class. Outside the method inside the class are called as instance variable or global variable. Instance variables are global variable. Suppose let us assume so system dot out dot println of I. So let us take an example. This is 100. So this is 100 and this is 200. This is 200. So what is the value we can get? 100 or 200? What is the output? 100 or 200? So it will execute and display only 200. Why? Because the highest priority is always given to the local variable, but not global variable. So that is the reason why. What is the output? 200. So next, instance variables. Instance variable we cannot access directly here. We cannot access directly. Okay, so it is not possible to access in the main method. Suppose if you try to give an array like this, so it will give an error message. It will give an error message. The error message is nothing but exception in thread main unresolved, cannot make static reference to the non-static field called as I. The meaning is there are two things. There are two things in Java. So first one is static. The second one is non-static. First one is what? Static. The second one is what? Non-static. Okay. So if the static keyword is available, then only it is called as a static. If the static keyword is available, then only it will called as static. If the static keyword is not available, then it is called as non-static. So now tell me, I is a static or non-static? So static and static directly you can access. Directly you can access. If it is non-static, if it is non-static, you cannot access it directly. You cannot access it directly. Why? Because It is instance variable. It is what variable? Instance variable. The instance is nothing but object. Instance is nothing but object. You have to create the object and you have to call the method or variable. You have to create the object and call the variable. So how to create the object? Object can be created to the class t is equal to new test. New test. So t dot. So system dot out dot println t dot I with the help of the object. With the help of the object only. So object creation. This is what object creation or instantiating. Object creation or instantiating. So object creation or instantiating. So దీన్ని మనం ఏమంటాం? Instantiation or object creation. Instantiating. Instantiation. So instantiation. So object creation or instantiation. Object creation or instantiation. So with the help of the object, you can call the non-static variable and method. Non-static variable and method. So simply you can call 100 like this. So with the help of object only, you can call the instance variable. Suppose let us assume the same example. So public void display. Public void display. So open the method and close the method. So system dot out dot println. So from display from class called as a test class. Class called as a test class. So display method is also a non-static. Display method is also a non-static because there is no static keyword. There is no static keyword. But main is a static. Main is a static because we have the static keyword. So directly non-static methods and non-static variables. Non-static method and non-static variable. So directly accessible is not possible. So that is the reason why we'll create the object. We'll create the object and based on the object we can call the method. We can call the method. This is called as calling the method. This is called as calling the method. This is called as calling the method. When you execute this, 100 and display from test is got executed successfully. So this is how we'll create the object and we can call the method. Okay, fine, fine. Suppose these are static. These are static. These are what? Static. These are what? Static. I is static as well as method is static and we no need to create the object. We no need to create the object. Without object, you can access I variable as well as you can access display. You can access display. You no need to create the object. Directly you can call I and directly you can call the display method. So I value is 100 and display from test. So when is the problem? When there is no static. When there is no static, then only the problem. Then only the problem. Because from the so read the error message. Cannot make static reference to the non-static field called as I. Cannot make static reference to the non-static method in display. So we cannot access non-static methods and non-static variables directly. సో యాక్సెప్ట్ చేయాలంటే మనం ఏం చేయాలి మనము mandatory we have to create the object. Mandatory we have to create the object, then only we can able to call the non-static methods from the non-static method from the static context. Okay, so this is how we'll execute it. So take this code. Stand up. Last second bench. Stand up. What are you doing? Hmm? What are you doing in class? You're coming to the class for sleeping? Huh? పర్మిషన్ తీసుకున్నావా? ఎవరి దగ్గర తీసుకున్నావు? ఇచ్చారా? Right. So this is about instance and display method. So these are non-static. Okay. We'll check. We'll check. I'll create one more class here. The class name is, let us assume, sample. The class name is sample. Okay. Within this sample class, I'll create the variable. So tell me, so local variable or global variable? Local or global? Local variables which are declared within the method. But is there any method? Only class. The class means global. So this is what? Global or instance variable. Global or instance variable. Global or instance variable. Another variable, static int j is equal to 300. So this is also a global, but it is a static. So this one is I variable and this one is j variable. I is non-static and j is static. Right. So public void return type and method name can be anything. I'll continue with M1. I'll continue with M1 without any parameter. So system dot out dot println. So method 1 from. So method 1 without any parameter. So from a class called as sample. Next, public static void m2 without any parameter system dot out dot println. So m2 from a class called as a sample. So two variables, two methods, two variables and two methods. So first one is non-static and the second one is static. Okay. What is the class name here? Sample. Any variables ఉన్నాయి దీంట్లో మనకి? Two variables. One is I and another one is J. I is non-static and J is static. And ఎన్ని methods ఉన్నాయి మనకి? Two methods. M1 and M2. Let us take an example. Int I is equal to or int x is equal to 500. Int x is equal to 500. So system dot out dot println x. Next, int y is equal to some 1000 and system dot out dot println y. So these are called as local variables. ఎందుకు local variables అంటున్నాం మనము? Because these are declared within the method. within the method. So that is the reason why these are local variable. Global variables and వేటినంటున్నాం మనము. These are global variables. Why? Because these are not defined within the method. These are defined outside the method, inside the class. Outside the method and inside the class. Now tell me. Class name is sample. How many variables? Two variables, I and j. How many methods? Two methods. Method 1 and method 2. M1 and M2. Okay. From the test class, I would like to execute the sample class variables and sample class methods. Okay. I have a sample class. In the sample class, I have a couple of variables and couple of methods. These methods and variable can be accessible in the test. Okay, simple. System.out.println of j. J is belongs to sample, not test. Okay, can we directly access like this? No, not possible. So when you try to execute, it will give an error message. J cannot be resolved to a variable because J is not declared within this class. But J is available in which class? Sample class. Which class? Sample class. So J is a static or non-static? Static or non-static? Static means you no need to create the object with the help of class name. What is the class name here? Sample dot j. So j belongs to sample, which is a static. You no need to create the object. Directly you can get the value. What is the value? 300. So go to test.java and execute. So what is the value we got here? So 300 we got here. Suppose let us assume. What is the method name here? M2. M2 is also a static. So in order to access the static, you no need to use some object. Directly you can call the method. So sample dot M2 is belongs to sample, that is static. So directly you can execute. So 300 and local variable data called as y is equal to 1000 and M2 from sample is executed successfully. Suppose let us assume sample dot I and sample dot M1. Can we call like this? So not possible because I is not a static and M1 is also a not static. So directly with the help of class you cannot access. It will give some error. Cannot make static reference to the non-static field called as I and non-static method called as M1. So if I want to access non-static, so definitely you should create the object. So which class object you need to create? The variable and method which I need to access, those are available in the sample class only. That is the reason why I need to create the sample class object. So this is called as object creation. After object creation, you can call the non-static variable s dot I and s dot m1. So now what is the I value? The I value is 200. What is the m1? M1 contains x local variable. I am printing the local variable data 500 and m1 from sample. So simply go to the test and execute. Go to the test, the 200 from the I variable and 500 from the x local variable and m1 from the sample. So simple. What you have done earlier, you have done like this. So system.out.sample.j and sample.m2. So for differentiating, so simply I'll use some dotted lines here. So see the observe here, observe the output. So 200, which data? I variable data or j variable data? I variable data and 500 from x value, which is a local variable, and m1 from sample. So 300 is a j value and 1000 is a y value, local variable, and m2 from sample. So observe here, these are static. These are static. These are non-static. So simple, observe the code here. Observe the code here. So if it is a non-static, if it is a non-static variable or non-static method, non-static variable or non-static method. So observe here, I is a non-static as well as M1 is a non-static. So that is the reason why I am creating the object, I am calling the variable, I am calling the method. J and M2 are static. J and M2 are static. That is the reason why I no need to create the object. Directly I can call with the help of class name. So what is the class name? Sample and sample. Sample.j and sample.m2. So now ఇక్కడ మీరు చెప్పాల్సింది ఏంటి అంటే what is J? J is a variable. What type of variable? What type of variable? Static or non-static? Static or non-static? Static, not non-static. Okay. If you found a class name dot j, class name dot j, j is a variable class name. So if you found a variable with the class name that is static, okay, a variable, sorry, method name and class name, this is static. So already, so పాత వాళ్ళకి అందరికీ తెలుసు బట్ తెలియని వాళ్ళకి, right? Object, S is what? Object. When you found the variable with the object, that is non-static, and when you found the method name with the variable, that is non-static. So ఇప్పుడు చెప్పండి, J is static or non-static? ఎందుకు? We are accessing it with the class name. M2 is static or non-static? Static. Why? Because we are accessing with class. So class name అని ఎట్లా ఫైండ్ అవుట్ చేస్తారు మీరు? Class name always start with, class name always start with what? Class name always start with capital. Class name always start with capital. The variable and method name start with small letter. The variable and method name start with small letter. The variable contains the parenthesis. Sorry, method contains the parenthesis, whereas variable do not have any parenthesis. Whereas variable do not have any parenthesis. So parenthesis ఉంటే దీన్ని ఏమంటాము? మెథడ్. parenthesis లేకపోతే ఏమంటాం మనము? వేరియబుల్. సో ఇప్పుడు చెప్పండి, ఇప్పుడు చెప్పండి. సో sample dot j meaning is J is a variable or method? J is a variable or method? parenthesis ఉందా మనకి? parenthesis లేదు కాబట్టి started with small letter or capital letter? Capital or small? Capital? Only J. Small letter or capital letter? Small letter means variable or method? Variable. Method ఎందుకు కాదు? Because there is no parenthesis. There is no parenthesis. So ఇప్పుడు చెప్పండి, M2 is what? M2 is what? Method. Why? Because it contains the parenthesis. Next, out is what? Variable. Why? Because started with the small letter, we do not have any parenthesis. What is println? Println is a method. What is the main? What is a string? Started with what? Capital N means class. String is what? Test is what? System is what? Println is what? Is this clear? Is this clear? Only this thing important. So packages, classes, interfaces, and exception. So the all this contains variables and method. Okay. మీరు గుర్తుపెట్టుకోవాల్సింది ఏంటి అంటే స్టాటిక్ అయితే క్లాస్ నేమ్ యూజ్ చేస్తాము. నాన్ స్టాటిక్ అయితే ఏం యూజ్ చేస్తాము? ఆబ్జెక్ట్ యూజ్ చేస్తాం. ఆబ్జెక్ట్‌ని యూజ్ చేస్తాము. ఓకే. సో అందుకే దీన్ని ఏమంటాము అంటే మనము క్లాస్ వేరియబుల్ అంటాం. ఏమంటాం? క్లాస్ వేరియబుల్. సో ఇఫ్ ఇట్ ఈస్ ఎ స్టాటిక్ అండ్ ఇన్‌స్టాంట్, ఇట్ ఈస్ ఏ క్లాస్ వేరియబుల్. సో టేక్ దిస్ ప్రోగ్రామ్. right? Okay. So observe here. This is global or instance variable without any static keyword. So ఈ ఇన్స్టాన్స్ వేరియబుల్ ని ఎలా యాక్సెస్ చేస్తాం? క్లాస్ నేమ్ ఆర్ ఆబ్జెక్ట్ నేమ్? క్లాస్ ఆర్ ఆబ్జెక్ట్? ఆబ్జెక్ట్, బికాస్ స్టాటిక్ ఉంటేనే క్లాస్ నేమ్, స్టాటిక్ లేకపోతే ఆబ్వియస్లీ ఆబ్జెక్ట్. సో ఎలా యాక్సెస్ చేసుకోవాలి ఇప్పుడు ఐ వేరియబుల్ ని? ఆబ్జెక్ట్. జే వేరియబుల్ ని స్టాటిక్ ఉంది కాబట్టి ఏం కాల్ చేస్తాము? క్లాస్ నేమ్. M1 is static or non-static? Non-static means object or class name? Object. M2 is static or non-static? Static means object or class name? Class name. Right. Simple. I will delete all the things and after that I'll write methods here. Public void M1. Public void M1. So system dot out dot println. So M1 from sample. M1 from sample. Next, public void M2. Public void M2. So system dot out dot println. So M2 from sample. M2 from sample. Next, public void name. So instead of name, I'll write M3. I'll write M3. So sys out M3 from a class called as sample. So no need to write the notes. So observe here. M1, M2 and M3. M1, M2 and M3 are from sample class. Are from sample class. All these methods are static methods or non-static methods. Non-static method means class name or object name. Which object we need to create? Sample object. How many methods are available? M1, M2 and M3. So simple. Go to the test class. Go to the test class. Create the object. In order to create the object, we'll use the class name sample s is equal to new sample. Sample s is equal to new sample. So that s dot m1 you can call, s dot m2 you can call, as well as s dot m3. S dot m3 you can call. Okay, fine. When you click on the run, so it will execute m1 from sample, m2 from sample and m3 from sample. Okay, so if there is a non-static methods, if there is non-static method, you can create the object. You can create the object. Suppose let us assume all these are static. All these are static. Static M2, static M3 and static M1. So all these are static. You no need to create the object. You no need to create the object. So instead of object, what you will use? Class name. What is the class name? Sample. So sample dot m1, sample dot m2 and sample dot m3. Sample dot m3 and call the method. The same output or not? So only two things. If it is a static, we'll use class name. If it is a non-static, we'll use object. That's it. Okay, fine. Actually, methods are of four types. What is the method? What is a method? The method is a block of statement or group of state. Block of statement or group of statement. Okay. The method can be categorized into four types. First one is with return type or without return type. Without return type, that is nothing but void. That is nothing but void. Second one is with parameter or with return type. With return type. With return type. Third one is without input parameter. Without input parameter, without input parameter, and finally with input parameter, with input parameter. So without parameter it's arguments, arguments without any parameter, without any parameter. So these are the types of the methods: with return, without return type, with return type, without input parameter, and with input parameter. So first one, without return type. Without return type, without return type means void. Without return type means void. When you write void as the return type, that means that method which doesn't return any value, that method which doesn't return any value. Without return type means void as the return type. Without input parameter, without input parameter. Okay, so now let us continue, let us continue. So without parameter is nothing but void, without parameter is empty. So now I would like to define some with parameter. The parameter is nothing but int, and m2 with double d. So now the methods with input parameters, the method with input parameter, basically the data types are categorized into, the data type categorized into two types, the data type categorized into two types, data types. So yeah, please write primitive and non-primitive, primitive and non-primitive, primitive and non-primitive. So data types are categorized into two types, primitive and non-primitive. So already we know that the primitive data types are int, long, float, double, character, boolean, and byte, byte, short, etc. So non-primitive means class names, interface names, and exceptions, and exception, like classes, interfaces, exceptions are the non-primitive. To the primitive we will use values. To the primitives we will use values. To the primitive we will use values. To the non-primitive we will use object. We'll use values. We'll use values. To the non-primitive we'll use objects. We'll use object. Okay. So now tell me. So data types are categorized into two types, primitive and non-primitive. So primitive means int, long, float, double, character, boolean, byte, short, etc. So these are primitive data types, and non-primitive data types are class names, interface names, and exception name. For those we use object. For those we use object. Okay. So now coming to the program, with input parameter, with input parameter. So input parameter must and should be a data type. Input parameter must and should be a data type, either primitive or non-primitive. So now tell me, int and double are the input parameter, and these are primitive or non-primitive? Primitive or non-primitive? So primitive data type means we use values or object. We'll use values or object. We'll use values. What the meaning is, M1, M2, M3, M1 without return type, without input parameter. M2 is without return type, with input parameter. M3 is without return type and with parameter. Okay. and M1, M2 and M3 are non-static methods. M1 and M2 and M3 are non-static method. Non-static means class name or object name. Class name or object name. So we should create the object sample s is equal to new sample. So sample s is equal to new sample. So what is the method name? S dot M1 with parameter or without parameter? M1 is without any parameter. You no need to supply any value. But M2 is a with parameter. M2 is a with parameter. So S dot M2. S dot M2. We have to supply integer value. We have to supply integer value. I'll supply the 100. So now S dot M2. S dot M2, I can supply the double value. I can supply the double value. Okay. So not M2, it is M3. It is M3. Okay. So M1, M2 and M3. So we will supply the values to the input parameter. We will supply the values to the input parameter. So now instead of M2, I'll make it as M1. M1 which takes int, and I will write M1. I will write M1 which takes double. సో ఇంతకు ముందు ఏముంది మనకి M1, M2, M3. ఇప్పుడు ఏమున్నాయి మనకి M1, M1 అండ్ M1. సో ఇక్కడ మెథడ్ నేమ్ చూసుకుంటే మనకి అంతా కూడా మూడు కూడా ఏమున్నాయి సేమ్. మెథడ్ నేమ్స్ ఆర్ సేమ్, బట్ డిఫరెన్స్ ఏముంది మనకి? The reference are nothing but input parameter. The first one is without any parameter. Second one is with parameter with integer. The third one is with parameter with double. సో దీన్నే మనం ఏమంటాము అంటే మెథడ్ ఓవర్లోడింగ్ అంటాం. ఏమంటాం? మెథడ్ ఓవర్లోడింగ్. సో వాట్ ఇస్ ద మీనింగ్ ఆఫ్ మెథడ్ ఓవర్లోడింగ్? సో డిఫైనింగ్ మల్టిపుల్ మెథడ్స్ with the same name, different parameters. Okay, so with the same name, different parameter is called as method overloading. Is called as method overloading. So M1 without any parameter, M1 with integer, M1 with double. So this is called as method overloading. This is called as method overloading. So M1 with double and M1 with integer and M1 without any input parameter. So when you execute all the methods, M1 without any parameter, M1 with integer, M1 with double got executed successfully. So this is called as method overloading. This is called as method overloading. What is the meaning of method overloading? Defining multiple functionalities. Defining multiple functionalities with the same name, different parameter is called as method overloading. So take the heading and take the program. Method overloading. Method overloading heading, right? Defining multiple functionalities. Defining multiple functionalities. Defining multiple functionalities with the same name. Defining multiple functionalities with the same name and defining multiple functionalities with the same name and different parameters. Different parameters is called as method overloading. Is called as method overloading. Is called as method overloading. Example. Example, take this program. Okay, completed. Right. So coming to the point, M1, this M1 and this M1, static or non-static? So ఎలా చెప్తున్నారు నాన్ స్టాటిక్ అని? There is no static keyword. There is no static keyword కాబట్టి నాన్ స్టాటిక్. ఈ నాన్ స్టాటిక్ కాబట్టి ఎలా కాల్ చేస్తాం? విత్ క్లాస్ నేమ్ ఆర్ విత్ ఆబ్జెక్ట్ నేమ్? విత్ ఆబ్జెక్ట్. సో ఎలా క్రియేట్ చేస్తాం ఆబ్జెక్ట్? సో sample s is equal to new sample. So this is called as object creation. This is called as object creation. For example, with return type or without return type? With return type or without return type? Without return type. Without return type means? Without return type means what? Void. Void ఉంటే దాన్ని ఏమంటాం? Without return type. Okay, observe it. With return type or without return type? Without return type. With parameter or without parameter? Without parameter. With return type or without return type? With parameter or without parameter? with, what is this? Without parameter, without return type, with parameter. Suppose let us assume I would like to define the method like this. Public int, public int m2, public int m2. So now tell me, with return type or without return type? With return type, without parameter. Okay. So if it is a void without return type, if it is any data type with return type. Okay. So sys out m2 from a class called as sample. M2 from a class called as sample. What is the return type here? Int. Int is a primitive or non-primitive? Primitive or non-primitive? So primitive means values or object. We have to return. We have to return the integer value. We have to return the integer value. Okay. When there is return type, you have to return the value. You have to return the value. So now tell me, so this method is a static or non-static? This method is a static or non-static? Non-static means class name or object name? Object. So we have to execute that method with the help of object, and method name is called as m2. Method name is called as m2. Okay. Where is the value? Where is the value? The method m2 is returning something or not? The m2 is returning something 500. This return value always will come to the calling place. The simple, go to a paint. This is the program. This is the program. And I am executing the methods like this. Let us take an example. I will delete this. I will delete this. I'll continue this. Okay. So this is sample and this is test. This is sample and this is test. This is a sample class and this is test class. This is test class. The execution always start from main method. The execution always start from main method. The object got created. The object got created. So we are calling the method called as m1. We are calling the method called as m1. The input value will come to the place inside the variable called as d. The 100 value command place inside the variable called as d. The 500 value will come to this place. The 500 value come to this place. Okay. So when you supply the value, it will come to this method. When you return the value, it will go to that place. Okay. So this place is nothing but calling place. This place is nothing but calling place. So this place is nothing but calling place. This place is nothing but calling place. Okay. When you supply the value, when you supply the value, when you supply the value at the time of calling, when you supply the value at the time of calling, when you supply the value at the time of calling, the value will come to this method. The value will come to this method. When you return the value, when you return the value, the return value always will go to the calling place. The return value always will go to the calling place. సో సింప్లీ ద 500 అనేది ఎక్కడికి వెళ్ళింది ఇప్పుడు? ఎక్కడైతే మనం కాల్ చేసామో అక్కడికి వెళ్ళింది. 200 అనేది ఎక్కడికి వచ్చింది? వేరియబుల్ కాల్డ్ యాస్ డి ఆర్ సంథింగ్. ఓకే, ఇప్పుడు అబ్జర్వ్ చేయండి. ఈ 100 వాల్యూ M1లో ఉన్న మెథడ్కి వెళ్ళింది. సో M1లో ఇంటీజర్ ఏ వేరియబుల్లో స్టోర్ అయింది? ఐ. సో ఇక్కడ నేను 100 ప్రింట్ చేయాలంటే ఏ వేరియబుల్ ప్రింట్ చేయాలి? సిస్ అవుట్ ఆఫ్ ఐ. అండ్ ఈ 500 అనేది ఎక్కడికి వెళ్ళింది? కాలింగ్ ప్లేస్. ఎక్కడ నుంచి కాల్ చేసాము? ఇక్కడ నుంచి కాల్ చేసాము. M2 అనేది కాల్ చేసాం కాబట్టి మనకి డేటా ఎంత వస్తుంది? ఇక్కడ 500 వస్తుంది. ఆ 500ని మనము ఏ వేరియబుల్లో అయినా స్టోర్ చేయొచ్చు. 500ని ఏ వేరియబుల్లో అయినా స్టోర్ చేయొచ్చు. స్టోర్ చేసిన తర్వాత మనం ఏం చేయొచ్చు? ప్రింట్ చేస్తాం. సో ఇప్పుడు వాల్యూ ఎంత ప్రింట్ అవుతుంది మనకి? 500. ఫస్ట్ ఏం ఎగ్జిక్యూట్ అవుతుంది? 100 M1. So it will go to the M1 and I value is 100. M1 from int sample and value ఎంత ప్రింట్ అవుతుంది? 100. దాని తర్వాత ఏమవుతుంది? ఈ స్టేట్మెంట్ కంప్లీట్ అయిపోయిన తర్వాత M2 కాల్ అవుతుంది. M2 ఎక్కడుంది? శాంపుల్లో ఉంది. సో M2 ఎగ్జిక్యూట్ అయింది అండ్ ఎంత రిటర్న్ చేసింది? 500 రిటర్న్ చేసింది. ఈ 500 అనేది ఎక్కడికి వస్తుంది మళ్ళీ? ఈ 500 అనేది ఇక్కడికి వచ్చిన తర్వాత ఏ వేరియబుల్లో స్టోర్ అవుతుంది? డేటా అనే వేరియబుల్లో స్టోర్ అవుతుంది. ఆఫ్టర్ దట్ డేటా విల్ బి ప్రింట్. ఆఫ్టర్ దట్ డేటా విల్ బి ప్రింట్. సో అవుట్పుట్ టోటల్గా మనకి ఏమొస్తుంది? M1 int from sample 100 which is a I variable and M2 from sample and 500 which is returned by the M2. which is returned by the M2. సో ఇది అర్థమైందా మనకి? ఇది ఇంపార్టెంట్. ఇది అర్థమైందా మనకి? సో ఎప్పుడైతే వాల్యూ సప్లై చేస్తామో అది డిక్లరేషన్లోకి వస్తుంది. ఎప్పుడైతే వాల్యూ సప్లై చేస్తామో అది డిక్లరేషన్లోకి వస్తుంది. డిక్లరేషన్లో సప్లై చేసిన వాల్యూ ఎక్కడికి వెళ్తుంది? కాలింగ్. సో ఇక్కడ డేటా అటు వెళ్తుంది, అక్కడ డేటా ఇటు వస్తుంది. సో ఇస్ ఇట్ క్లియర్? క్లియర్. సో అర్థమైంది కదా అందరికీ? సో ఇప్పుడు చెప్పండి, మెథడ్ ఓవర్లోడింగ్ అంటే ఏం చెప్తారు? డిఫైనింగ్ మల్టిపుల్ ఫంక్షనాలిటీస్ with the same name, different parameter is called as method overloading. M1 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 without parameter, with integer, with double, with character, with boolean, with string or whatever it is you can define. So how many numbers you can define? And coming to the point, so ఎన్ని మెథడ్ టైప్స్ ఉన్నాయి మనకి? ఎన్ని మెథడ్ టైప్స్ ఉన్నాయి? 4. వితౌట్ రిటర్న్ టైప్, విత్ రిటర్న్ టైప్, వితౌట్ ఇన్పుట్ పారామీటర్, విత్ ఇన్పుట్ పారామీటర్. సో వితౌట్ రిటర్న్ టైప్ అంటే మనం ఏం రాస్తాము? వాయిడ్ రాస్తాం. విత్ రిటర్న్ టైప్ అంటే ఏం రాస్తాము? డేటా టైప్ రాస్తాము. అగైన్ డేటా టైప్స్లో మళ్ళీ మనకి ఎన్ని ఉన్నాయి? 2. సో ప్రిమిటివ్ అండ్ నాన్ ప్రిమిటివ్. సో ప్రిమిటివ్ అయితే ఏం సప్లై చేయాలి? వాల్యూస్. నాన్ ప్రిమిటివ్ అయితే ఏం సప్లై చేయాలి? ఆబ్జెక్ట్. సో ఇక్కడ కూడా వితౌట్ ఇన్పుట్ పారామీటర్ అంటే ఎంటీ పారాంథసిస్ ఉంటాయి. విత్ ఇన్పుట్ పారామీటర్ అంటే మళ్ళీ డేటా టైప్ యూజ్ చేస్తాము. మళ్ళీ డేటా టైప్లో 2 టైప్స్, ప్రిమిటివ్ అండ్ నాన్ ప్రిమిటివ్. సో ప్రిమిటివ్ అయితే వాల్యూ సప్లై చేస్తాము, నాన్ ప్రిమిటివ్ అయితే ఆబ్జెక్ట్ని సప్లై చేస్తాము. సో దిస్ ఈజ్ హౌ విల్ రైట్ ది జావా ప్రోగ్రామ్స్. This is how we'll write the Java programs. So just a small topic. It's small topic అయిపోయిన తర్వాత we'll go for lunch. Okay, right. What is this? Method or variable? ఎలా చెప్తున్నారు? Parenthesis. Okay. What is this? Method. What is this? What is this? Method only or not? Okay, right. There is a difference. What is the method name? M2. What is the method name? What is the method name? M2. What is the difference between this and this? This is called as declaration. This is called as declaration or definition. This is called as a declaration or definition. So ఈ declaration లో మనకి ఏముంటది? Public. What is int here? Here return type. What is into here? Return type. What is this? M2 అని నాకు కూడా తెలుసు. Method name parenthesis open the method name is called as method declaration or method definition. ఇప్పుడు చెప్పండి. పబ్లిక్ void వద్దు. రిటర్న్ టైప్ మెథడ్ నేమ్ ఇన్పుట్ పారామీటర్ ఓపెన్ ది మెథడ్ నైమ్. ఇట్లా ఉంటుంది. దీన్ని ఏమంటాం మనము? డిక్లరేషన్ ఆర్ డెఫినేషన్. బట్ మెథడ్ నేమ్ అండ్ సెమీకోలన్ ఏమంటాం? మెథడ్ కాలింగ్ అంటాం. ఏమంటాం? మెథడ్ కాలింగ్. దర్ ఈస్ అ డిఫరెన్స్ మెథడ్ డిక్లరేషన్ అండ్ మెథడ్ కాలింగ్. సో ఇప్పుడు చెప్పండి, కాలింగ్ ఆర్ డిక్లరేషన్? మెథడ్ కాలింగ్. సో ఇక్కడ కూడా ఏం చేస్తున్నాము? మెథడ్ కాలింగ్. ఇక్కడ ఏం చేస్తున్నాము? మెథడ్ డిక్లరేషన్. ఎందుకు డిక్లరేషన్? రిటర్న్ టైప్, మెథడ్ నేమ్, ఓపెన్ ది మెథడ్ అండ్ క్లోజ్ ది మెథడ్. Open the method and close the method. So this is the difference between declaration and calling. Declaration and calling. So ఇప్పుడు చెప్పండి, sample and semicolon. It is look like method calling or not? It is look like method calling, but it is not a method. Why? Because started with capital. So this is not a method calling. This is called as constructor calling. This is calling what? Constructor calling. This is what? Constructor calling. Then what is constructor and what is method? Method అంటే ఏం చెప్పినాం మనము? మెథడ్ అంటే ఏం చెప్పినాము? బ్లాక్ ఆఫ్ స్టేట్మెంట్ ఆర్ గ్రూప్ ఆఫ్ స్టేట్మెంట్. సో మెథడ్ నేమ్ కెన్ బి ఎనీథింగ్. మెథడ్ నేమ్ కెన్ బి ఎనీథింగ్. Method may return or may not return. Yes or no? So method అంటే ఏం చెప్తున్నాం మనము? బ్లాక్ ఆఫ్ స్టేట్మెంట్ ఆర్ గ్రూప్ ఆఫ్ స్టేట్మెంట్. మెథడ్ నేమ్ అనేది ఏదైనా రాసుకోవచ్చా? యూ కెన్ రైట్ ఎనీ నేమ్ యాజ్ ది మెథడ్ నేమ్. సో మెథడ్ రిటర్న్ చేయొచ్చు, రిటర్న్ చేయకపోవచ్చు. బట్ కన్స్ట్రక్టర్స్ ఆర్ nothing but special type of functionalities. Constructors are special type of functionalities that are going to get executed at the time of object creation. సో కన్స్ట్రక్టర్స్ ఎప్పుడు ఎగ్జిక్యూట్ అవుతాయి? ఓన్లీ ఆబ్జెక్ట్ క్రియేషన్ చేసినప్పుడు మాత్రమే ఎగ్జిక్యూట్ అవుతాయి. కన్స్ట్రక్టర్ నేమ్, క్లాస్ నేమ్ మస్ట్ అండ్ షుడ్ బి ది సేమ్. కన్స్ట్రక్టర్ నేమ్, క్లాస్ నేమ్ మస్ట్ అండ్ షుడ్ బి ది సేమ్. సో మీరు ఇక్కడ అబ్జర్వ్ చేయండి. సో ఇక్కడ మనకి ఏ క్లాస్ ఉంది? there is a class called as sample. So this class, if I want to create any constructor, so mandatory constructor name must and should be sample only. మెథడ్ కి రిటర్న్ ఉండొచ్చు, రిటర్న్ లేకపోవచ్చు. బట్ కన్స్ట్రక్టర్ కి రిటర్న్ అనే ఛాన్సే ఉండదు. వైడ్ ఉండదు, రిటర్న్ టైపు అసలు ఏది ఉండదు. సో దాన్ని ఏమంటామంటే మనము కన్స్ట్రక్టర్ అంటాము. సో కన్స్ట్రక్టర్ అంటే ఏంటి? సో పబ్లిక్. కన్స్ట్రక్టర్ నేమ్ ఎలా ఉండాలి? సేమ్ యాజ్ ది క్లాస్ నేమ్. వాట్ ఇస్ ది క్లాస్ నేమ్? శాంపుల్. కన్స్ట్రక్టర్ కూడా ఎలా ఉండాలి? శాంపుల్. సో ఓపెన్ ది parenthesis, open the constructor and close the constructor. So this is a method and this is a constructor. సో రెండిటికి డిఫరెన్స్ ఏంటి చెప్పండి? సో పబ్లిక్ ఈస్ కామన్, బట్ రిటర్న్ టైప్ ఎక్కడుంది? మెథడ్కి ఉంది. బట్ కన్స్ట్రక్టర్కి రిటర్న్ టైప్ ఉండదు. మెథడ్ నేమ్ కెన్ బి ఎనీథింగ్, బట్ కన్స్ట్రక్టర్ నేమ్ మస్ట్ అండ్ షుడ్ బి క్లాస్ నేమ్. సో వాట్ ఇస్ ది క్లాస్ నేమ్? శాంపుల్. సో కన్స్ట్రక్టర్ నేమ్ ఆల్సో షుడ్ శాంపుల్. ఓకే, నెక్స్ట్ కన్స్ట్రక్టర్ ఎప్పుడు ఎగ్జిక్యూట్ అవుతుంది? వెన్ యూ క్రియేట్ ది ఆబ్జెక్ట్. కన్స్ట్రక్టర్ ఎగ్జిక్యూట్ అయింది అంటే దాని మీనింగ్ ఏంటి? ఆబ్జెక్ట్ క్రియేట్ అయింది అని అర్థం. ఆబ్జెక్ట్ క్రియేట్ అయింది అంటే దాని మీనింగ్ ఏంటి? కన్స్ట్రక్టర్ ఎగ్జిక్యూట్ అయింది. ఈ కన్స్ట్రక్టర్ ఎప్పుడు ఎగ్జిక్యూట్ అవుతుంది? ఎప్పుడైతే మనం ఆబ్జెక్ట్ క్రియేట్ చేస్తామో అప్పుడే క్రియేట్ అవుతుంది. సో ఆబ్జెక్ట్ గాట్ క్రియేటెడ్. ఇలా రాసుకోవచ్చా? ఆబ్జెక్ట్ గాట్ క్రియేటెడ్. సో ఇలా రాసుకుందాం అనుకుందాం. ఓకే, సో ఇదేంటి? కన్స్ట్రక్టర్. ఇదేంటి? మెథడ్. మెథడ్ డెఫినేషన్ ఏమంటాం దీన్ని? మెథడ్ డెఫినేషన్ ఆర్ మెథడ్ డిక్లరేషన్. దీన్ని ఏమంటాం? కన్స్ట్రక్టర్. అరే యార్, వాట్ ఇస్ దిస్? మెథడ్ వాట్? మెథడ్ కాలింగ్ ఆర్ మెథడ్ డిక్లరేషన్? మెథడ్. వాట్ ఇస్ దిస్? కన్స్ట్రక్టర్. constructor declaration definition. Constructor declaration or constructor definition. సో మెథడ్ కాల్ ఎలా చేస్తాం మనము? సెమీ కోలన్ రాస్తాం. బట్ కన్స్ట్రక్టర్ కూడా ఏం చేయాలి మనము? సార్ నో సేమ్ లైక్ మెథడ్ ఆర్ నాట్? సి M1 కాలింగ్ ఆర్ మెథడ్ డిక్లరేషన్? కాలింగ్ ఓన్లీ, రైట్? ఎలా చెప్తున్నారు కాలింగ్ అని? సెమీ కోలన్. దీన్ని మనం ఏమంటాం? కన్స్ట్రక్టర్ what? Constructor calling. So constructor calling is nothing but object. Constructor calling is nothing but object creation is nothing but constructor. అర్థమైంది ఇప్పుడు? సో మెథడ్ని కాల్ చేస్తే మెథడ్ ఎగ్జిక్యూట్ అవుతుంది, బట్ కన్స్ట్రక్టర్ని కాల్ చేస్తే ఏమవుతుంది? సో ఆబ్జెక్ట్ అనేది క్రియేట్ అవుతుంది. ఆబ్జెక్ట్ అనేది ఎందుకు యూజ్ చేయాలి మనము? చెప్పండి, ఆబ్జెక్ట్ అనేది ఎందుకు యూజ్ చేయాలి మనము? టు కాల్ నాన్ స్టాటిక్ వేరియబుల్స్ అండ్ నాన్ స్టాటిక్ మెథడ్స్. టు కాల్ నాన్ స్టాటిక్ వేరియబుల్స్ అండ్ నాన్ స్టాటిక్ మెథడ్స్ కోసం మనం ఏం యూజ్ చేస్తాము? ఆబ్జెక్ట్ యూజ్ చేస్తాము. సో ఆబ్జెక్ట్ ఈస్ నథింగ్ బట్ ఇన్స్టాన్షియేషన్ ఆఫ్ క్లాస్. ఆబ్జెక్ట్ ఈస్ నథింగ్ బట్ ఇన్స్టాన్షియేషన్ ఆఫ్ క్లాస్. ఓకే, సో ఆబ్జెక్ట్ క్రియేట్ చేయాలంటే మనకి ఏ అవసరము? ఆబ్జెక్ట్ క్రియేట్ చేయాలంటే ఏం అవసరం మనకి? కన్స్ట్రక్టర్ అవసరము. ఆబ్జెక్ట్ క్రియేట్ చేయాలంటే ఏం అవసరం? కన్స్ట్రక్టర్ అవసరము. సో సపోజ్ లెటస్ అస్యూమ్ సింపుల్ ఆబ్జెక్ట్ క్రియేట్ చేసాము అంటే, సో జస్ట్ ఆబ్జెక్ట్ క్రియేట్ చేసాము. సో చూడండి, అబ్జర్వ్ చేయండి, ఓన్లీ ఆబ్జెక్ట్ మాత్రమే క్రియేట్ చేసాము, ఇంకేమీ చేయలేదు. సో క్లాస్లో కూడా ఇంకేం రాసాము? ఓన్లీ కన్స్ట్రక్టర్ ఒకటే రాసాము, ఇంకా మిగతాది ఏం రాయలేదు. సో జస్ట్ గో టు ది టెస్ట్ క్లాస్ అండ్ రన్ ది ప్రోగ్రామ్. సో డైరెక్ట్గా అవుట్పుట్ మనకి ఏమొచ్చింది? ఆబ్జెక్ట్ గాట్ క్రియేటెడ్. ఎందుకు? వీఆర్ కాలింగ్ ది కన్స్ట్రక్టర్. వీఆర్ కాలింగ్ ది కన్స్ట్రక్టర్. సో కన్స్ట్రక్టర్ ఎప్పుడు ఎగ్జిక్యూట్ అవుతుంది? వెన్ యూ క్రియేట్ ది ఆబ్జెక్ట్. సో ఆబ్జెక్ట్ క్రియేషన్ ఈస్ నథింగ్ బట్ కన్స్ట్రక్టర్ calling. Constructor calling is nothing but object creation. Suppose let us assume with parameter or without parameter? Without parameter. Suppose let us assume int I. With parameter or without parameter? With parameter means we have to supply the value or not at the time of calling or not. So now tell me, is this possible? With parameter or without parameter? Declaration ఎలా ఉంది మనకి? విత్ పారామీటర్. దిస్ ఈస్ కాల్డ్ యాజ్ అ డిక్లరేషన్ ఆర్ నాట్? ఎలా ఉంది? విత్ పారామీటర్ ఉందా, వితౌట్ పారామీటర్ ఉందా? బట్ కాలింగ్ లో కూడా మనం ఏం చేస్తున్నాం? వితౌట్ ఎనీ పారామీటర్. పాసిబుల్ ఉంటుందా? పాసిబుల్ ఉండదు. సో డెఫినెట్ గా మనం ఏం చేయాలి? సో వీ హ్యావ్ టు సప్లై ది వాల్యూస్. కన్స్ట్రక్టర్ శాంపుల్ వితౌట్ ఎనీ పారామీటర్ ఈస్ అన్డిఫైన్డ్. ఈస్ అన్డిఫైన్డ్. సో అప్పుడు ఏం చేయాలి మనం? పారామీటర్ ఏంటి ఇక్కడ? పారామీటర్ ఏంటి? ఇంట్. ప్రిమిటివ్ ఆర్ నాన్ ప్రిమిటివ్? సో ప్రిమిటివ్ మీన్స్ వాల్యూస్ ఆర్ ఆబ్జెక్ట్. So we have to supply the value or not? So what is the value we have to supply? So you can supply any integer value or not. Then only object can be created with the help of the constructor or not. So ఇప్పుడు చెప్పండి. So object is nothing but constructor calling, and object is nothing but instance of class. Object is nothing but instance of class. అసలు ఆబ్జెక్ట్ అనేది ఎందుకు యూజ్ చేయాలి అంటే ఏం చెప్తారు? టు యాక్సెస్ ది నాన్ స్టాటిక్ వేరియబుల్స్ అండ్ నాన్ స్టాటిక్ మెథడ్స్. ఓకే, సో కన్స్ట్రక్టర్ అనేది ఏంటి అంటే ఏం చెప్తారు? కన్స్ట్రక్టర్స్ ఆర్ ది స్పెషల్ టైప్ ఆఫ్ ఫంక్షనాలిటీస్ that are going to get executed at the time of object creation, that are going to get executed at the time of object creation. Constructor name and class name must and should be same. Constructor name and class name must and should be same. Constructor do not have any return type. Constructor do not have any return type. Constructors are of two types. Constructors are of two types. First one is zero parameterized constructor, that is called as a default constructor. That is called as default constructor. The second parameter is parameterized constructor. Parameterized constructor. So constructors always executed at the time of object creation only. Constructor always executed at the time of object creation only. But methods always executed when you call the method. సో ఓకే, సో డిఫరెన్సెస్ అనేది మనం చూస్తే మెథడ్కి కన్స్ట్రక్టర్స్కి సో సిమిలర్గా ఉంటాయి. మెథడ్స్ ఎలా ఉంటాయి? మెథడ్స్ ఎలా ఉంటాయి చెప్పండి ఫస్ట్. సో మెథడ్స్ ఎలా ఉన్నాయి? సో m1 is a method, m1 is a method. So method name can be anything, either you can use m1 or m2 or m3 display or something or whatever it is, but constructor name must and should be same as the class name. సో మెథడ్కి రిటర్న్ టైప్ ఉండొచ్చు, ఉండకపోవచ్చు. ఓకే, వైడ్ ఉండొచ్చు లేదా ఇంటీజర్ ఉండొచ్చు, బట్ కన్స్ట్రక్టర్కి ఏమైనా రిటర్న్ టైప్స్ ఉంటాయా? ఉండవు. నెక్స్ట్, మెథడ్ని మనం ఎన్నిసార్లు అయినా కాల్ చేయొచ్చు. మెథడ్ని మనం ఎన్నిసార్లు అయినా కాల్ చేయొచ్చు. సో m1 and s dot m1 you can call any number of times. You can call any number of times. So that many times it will get executed. It will get executed. But object ఎన్నిసార్లు క్రియేట్ చేస్తాం మనము? ఓన్లీ వన్స్. ఆబ్జెక్ట్ ఎన్నిసార్లు క్రియేట్ చేస్తాము? ఓన్లీ వన్. సో మెథడ్ ఆల్వేస్ ఎగ్జిక్యూటెడ్ వెన్ యూ కాల్ ది మెథడ్, బట్ కన్స్ట్రక్టర్ ఆల్వేస్ ఎగ్జిక్యూటెడ్ ఎట్ ద టైమ్ ఆఫ్ ఓన్లీ ఆబ్జెక్ట్ క్రియేషన్. ఎట్ ద టైమ్ ఆఫ్ ఓన్లీ ఆబ్జెక్ట్ క్రియేషన్. సో ఇప్పుడు చూడండి, సో మెథడ్ ఓవర్లోడింగ్ అంటే ఏం చెప్పాము మనము? మెథడ్ ఓవర్లోడింగ్ అంటే ఏం చెప్పాము? సేమ్ నేమ్ different parameter is called as method overloading. What is constructor overloading? What is constructor overloading? మల్టిపుల్ డిఫైన్ చేస్తే, మల్టిపుల్ మెథడ్స్ని డిఫైన్ చేస్తే మెథడ్ ఓవర్లోడింగ్. మల్టిపుల్ కన్స్ట్రక్టర్ని డిఫైన్ చేస్తే చెప్పండి కన్స్ట్రక్టర్. సో చేయొచ్చా ఇప్పుడు కన్స్ట్రక్టర్ ఓవర్లోడింగ్ చేయొచ్చా? ఫస్ట్ పబ్లిక్ కన్స్ట్రక్టర్ నేమ్ ఏంటి? శాంపుల్ int I. So system dot out dot println. So object got created with int. సో ఇప్పుడు మనం ఏం చేయొచ్చు? ఇంకో కన్స్ట్రక్టర్ కూడా రాసుకోవచ్చు. యూ కెన్ రైట్ ఎనీ నెంబర్ ఆఫ్ కన్స్ట్రక్టర్. సో ఇన్స్టెడ్ ఆఫ్ ఇంట్ మనం ఏం రాయొచ్చు? డబుల్. ఆబ్జెక్ట్ గాట్ క్రియేటెడ్ విత్ డబుల్. సో నెక్స్ట్ ఏం రాస్తా నేను? సో సింపుల్ sample class with the help of string. So constructor object got created with string. సో దీన్ని మనం ఏమంటాము? అన్నీ కూడా మెథడ్స్ ఉన్నాయా, కన్స్ట్రక్టర్స్ ఉన్నాయా? మెథడ్స్ ఆర్ కన్స్ట్రక్టర్స్. కన్స్ట్రక్టర్ వితౌట్ ఎనీ parameter, with parameter with integer, with parameter with double, with parameter with string. So multiple constructor with different parameter is called as constructor overload. So any ways లో ఆబ్జెక్ట్ క్రియేట్ చేయొచ్చు. You can use this constructor, you can use this constructor, you can use this constructor, or you can use this constructor. You can use any of the constructor. So defining multiple constructors with the different parameter is called as constructor overloading. Constructor overloading. So this is all about constructors method and fundamental things like if, else, do while, for loop, switch case and etc. So take the lunch and come back. We will discuss in the afternoon session.